The story of 3, I divided by Atlas, begins not with a whisper, but with a storm. In the early morning hours of the 8th of November 2025, something extraordinary unfolded in the skies near the Sunday. The third interstellar visitor ever detected in human history 3, I divided by Atlas, had awakened. What was once a faint, quiet traveler drifting through the solar system suddenly burst into life, spewing enormous plasma jets, glowing tails, and radiating energy unlike anything scientists had expected. For months, telescopes saw nothing unusual. Atlas remained dim, silent, unchanging. But when the sun entered its solar maximum, when magnetic fields flipped and storms erupted in every direction, Atlas came alive. Like a creature roused from deep sleep, it began to release energy in violent bursts, its structure flickering in the light of dawn. Observers across the world turned their lenses toward Virgo, where Atlas glowed like a restless ember in the dark. Astronomer Michael Yerger was among the first to capture the transformation. His images, taken just before sunrise on November 8, showed multiple luminous jets bursting from the object, not one, not two, but 5 distinct plasma streams shooting out from the dense coma surrounding the hidden core. Some were bright and sharp, others faint and ghost-like, but all were alive with motion. In each exposure, the jets changed direction and length, as if Atlas was breathing in light and exhaling plasma. At the same time, another story was unfolding. A small, faint object named C divided by 2025 V1 Borisov had been discovered just a few days earlier between Earth and Atlas. It appeared briefly dim, tailless, and silent before disintegrating completely. Its orbit was calculated to be harmless, not directed toward Earth, but its sudden disappearance added another layer of mystery to the unfolding events. As Borisov vanished, Atlas erupted. 2 comets behaving in ways no model could explain, one fading into nothing, the other bursting into cosmic fire. Coincidence? Or connection? By October 29, Atlas had reached its perihelion, the closest point to the Sunday. It was bombarded by radiation, particles, and magnetic waves. For an ordinary comet, this would mean outgassing water vapor, dust, perhaps a faint ion tail. But Atlas wasn't ordinary. It responded like a magnetic conductor, channeling solar energy into structured streams of plasma, as if the sunlight itself had switched it on. To understand this behavior, astronomers turn to the physics of plasma. Around any active comet is a coma, a glowing halo of dust and gas released from the surface as the nucleus heats up. Inside the coma is chaos. Molecules of carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor boiling away, colliding with photons from the sun and becoming ionized. Each photon knocks an electron loose, turning neutral particles into charged ions. These ions interact with magnetic fields, forming invisible currents and boundaries around the comet. But 3, I divided by Atlas, displayed something few had ever seen before, a tail pointing toward the Sunday. Normally, solar wind blows material away from the star, forming the familiar streaming tails we see in comets. Yet Atlas defied that rule. In high-resolution images, a faint anti-solar tail extended backward toward the sun as if drawn by a counterforce. Some researchers called it a magnetic rebound, where plasma and charged particles loop back along field lines. Others suggested something even more complex, a self-sustaining magnetic envelope, an electromagnetic bubble forming around the comet like a living skin. Simulations revealed regions around Atlas resembling magnetospheres seen in planets, an ionopause where solar wind is blocked, a magnetotail where magnetic lines stretch into space, and areas where fields collapse and rebuild in flashes of energy. During intense solar storms, The strength of these magnetic zones can spike dramatically. When the European Space Agency's Rosetta mission studied Comet 67P years earlier, its instruments recorded field surges of up to 300 nanotesla during solar flares 6 times higher than normal. Atlas, under a far more violent storm, could be experiencing even greater fluctuations. The timing was uncanny. On October 21, the same day Earth space weather monitors recorded a major solar storm, Atlas crossed directly behind the Sun, from our perspective perfectly aligned. It was invisible to telescopes, but fully exposed to the full blast of the Sun's plasma outbursts. What followed matched no ordinary pattern. A rapid increase in brightness, formation of multiple plasma jets, and the appearance of structured electromagnetic waves radiating from the object. When it reappeared from behind the Sun, Atlas was brighter by a factor of 5. Observers estimated its apparent magnitude at around 9.4, far more luminous than models predicted. This was not due to reflected sunlight from a dust tail, as the tail itself was nearly invisible. Instead, Atlas seemed to glow from within, powered by energetic jets of charged matter. Instead of one linear tail, it now exhibited 5, even 6, plasma rays fanning out like wings. To the human eye, it would resemble a radiant creature soaring through space, a cosmic butterfly made of light. Some scientists argue that this behavior is entirely physical, the interplay between solar wind, magnetic fields, and volatile compounds trapped within an ancient interstellar body. Yet others believe there's something more profound at work, that this interaction represents not only energy, but communication between matter and the environment itself. After all, the Sun is not a static ball of gas. It is a vast engine of electromagnetic resonance, pulsing and shifting on an 11-year cycle. When its fields flip, every planet, moon, and comet feels the ripple. Could Atlas be responding not passively, but dynamically, like a tuning fork, vibrating in harmony with the Sun's energy? The data certainly suggests sensitivity. During each solar flare, brightness peaks followed within hours. Each time the storm subsided, Atlas dimmed, only to brighten again with the next pulse. Its behavior resembled a biological rhythm, a heartbeat responding to the pulse of its star. From Mars orbit, faint observations by Tianwen, one confirmed these fluctuations, while ground-based telescopes recorded a shimmering halo surrounding the object, a plasma cloud expanding and contracting rhythmically. It was as if Atlas was breathing. At the microscopic level, plasma is one of the universe's most complex states of matter, a soup of electrons and ions that can organize itself into filaments, spirals, and waves. In labs on Earth, scientists have observed plasma forming patterns that resemble living systems, self-stabilizing and even exhibiting feedback loops. Some have called it the fourth state of consciousness of matter. Could Atlas, a 5-kilometer fragment of interstellar material, be displaying a primitive version of that same self-organization? If so, what are we truly witnessing? A random reaction to solar energy, or the flicker of an ancient intelligence built into the fabric of matter itself? For now, we only have the data. A comet brighter than predicted, behaving unlike any other, caught in the crossfire of the Sun's fury. As solar storms continue to lash across the heliosphere, Atlas continues to pulse, shimmer, and defy explanation. And yet, through all the noise and numbers, one feeling dominates awe. Because beyond the plasma, beyond the magnetism, and beyond the equations, 3, I divided by Atlas, reminds us that we are watching something alive in its own way. It may not think, breathe, or dream as we do, but it reacts, adapts, and transforms as if the universe itself, through this icy traveler, is reminding us that everything, from stars to comets to our own hearts, is connected by the same invisible currents of energy and light. And this is only the beginning. As the days passed after November 8, astronomers around the world continued to monitor 3I divided by Atlas. Each night brought something new. The jets changed, their angles shifted, their brightness fluctuated. Some observers reported rhythmic bursts, as if the comet were pulsing with a hidden pattern. In long exposure photographs, the jets appeared as luminous filaments stretching across space, thin veins of energy shimmering like electric threads in the darkness. The coma around the nucleus grew denser, concealing the core in a glowing sphere of ionized gas. Inside, the true surface of Atlas remained unseen, hidden behind layers of vapor, dust, and electromagnetic interference. The gas itself glowed blue-white, its intensity modulated by the solar wind. When the solar storms intensified, so did the jets, creating a spectacle that could almost be mistaken for the exhaust of an engine. By mid-November, instruments detected irregular spikes in the object's electromagnetic emissions. They weren't random. The peaks occurred at repeating intervals nearly every 11 minutes. Some dismissed it as coincidence, an artifact of observation, or the influence of the sun's pulsing activity. Others saw a strange symmetry. The 11-minute cycle mirrored the periodic rotation patterns seen in some interstellar objects, suggesting that Atlas might be rotating, exposing different active regions to sunlight, like rotating solar panels, gathering energy. But there was more. In spectral data from several observatories, faint traces of nickel and iron appeared, elements that shouldn't dominate a typical cometary composition. They formed a ratio eerily similar to industrial alloys, prompting speculation that Atlas was composed of metallic fragments, perhaps remnants of a once differentiated planetary body from another star system. If that were true, it meant this object had a complex history, one that began light years away and billions of years ago. Its journey might have started in the orbit of a distant star, flung into the void by gravitational instability, then hurled across interstellar space for millennia before entering our solar system. Such an object would carry scars of its origin, magnetic memory, isotopic fingerprints, perhaps even materials formed in alien atmospheres. Each plasma jet, each burst of light might not just be random outgassing, it could be the release of stored energy accumulated over eons of cosmic radiation. The connection to the sun was undeniable. On October 21, when solar activity reached its peak, a massive coronal mass ejection erupted from the sun's far side, the same region where Atlas was located. Earth-based satellites recorded the plasma cloud expanding into space, and models later showed that the energy wave's trajectory aligned almost perfectly with Atlas's orbital path. When the wave reached the object, it flared to life. To many scientists, it was a direct demonstration of cosmic cause and effect. But others wondered whether there was something reciprocal, whether Atlas, in turn, influenced the magnetic flow around the Sunday. As solar wind met Atlas's plasma field, charged particles were deflected, slowed, or absorbed. The comet's surrounding space became an electromagnetic labyrinth, where ions, electrons, and photons danced chaotically. Inside this storm, new microcurrents formed, carrying with them information in the form of oscillating fields. Some theorists proposed that matter and energy exchange information naturally, that the very act of interacting created a form of communication, a feedback loop between celestial bodies. If that were true, the Sun and Atlas were not isolated entities. They were part of a shared system, a dialogue between light and matter. While astrophysicists debated, the public's fascination exploded. Images of Atlas's wings of light went viral, spreading across social media feeds and news outlets. Some called it the cosmic phoenix, others the eye of creation. Amateur astronomers contributed hundreds of photos, showing the object growing brighter as it climbed away from the sun's glare. NASA and ESA data confirmed that Atlas was now 5 times brighter than expected. Despite showing no conventional tail, it seemed to shine not by reflection, but by radiation, a self-illuminating object pulsing with its own energy source. Around this time, discussions began to blend science with something deeper. Commentators and researchers alike speculated on whether the strange synchronization between the sun's storms and Atlas's eruptions represented a physical mechanism or something symbolic, even spiritual. Some compared the phenomenon to the concept of cosmic resonance, where all matter vibrates in harmony with a universal frequency. To illustrate, some turned to an analogy from Earth itself: water. Water, they said, is capable of memory, resonance, and structure beyond its simple molecular composition. Experiments had shown that ice crystals can retain patterns shaped by sound, emotion, or intention. It was a controversial claim, but the parallel was striking. If a molecule of water can store vibrational information, could an interstellar body composed of frozen gases and metals do the same on a cosmic scale? Atlas, then, would not just be a comet, it would be a vast natural archive of the universe's history, an interstellar hard drive etched with the memory of stars. Some scientists pushed back against this poetic idea, insisting that physics alone could explain everything: the solar maximum, the magnetic spikes, the ionized jets. But even they admitted the patterns were strange. The brightness oscillations didn't fit thermal models. The shape of the jets changed too fast for natural sublimation. And the alignment with solar activity was too perfect to ignore. Every few days, new images showed more complexity. By November 15, the jets appeared to twist and spiral, forming patterns like a helix, a double strand of plasma rotating around an invisible axis. Some viewers compared the shape to DNA. Others saw a symbolic reflection of duality, energy and matter, consciousness and form. Whether coincidence or cosmic art, the images mesmerized the world. Meanwhile, Comet Borisov, once faintly visible between Earth and Atlas, vanished completely. Telescopic searches failed to find any trace of it. Some suggested it had disintegrated during its approach to the Sun. Others whispered that perhaps it had merged with Atlas, triggering the surge of activity. The timing was unsettling. As Borisov disappeared, Atlas's brightness peaked. To those searching for patterns, the connection seemed inevitable. By the third week of November, Atlas began drifting outward from its perihelion path, moving toward the orbit of Mars. Calculations predicted it would leave the Martian region by November 23. After that, it would head toward its closest approach to Earth on December 19, still far but within observational reach of major telescopes. Beyond that point, it would continue toward Jupiter by March 2026, where missions like Juno and JUICE might capture its passage from afar. But what state would it be in by then? Would it remain active or fall silent again, returning to dormancy after its luminous awakening? The answer was uncertain. What was certain, however, was that Atlas had defied every rule in the book. It had shown that the boundaries between physics and mystery are thinner than we think. And so, as scientists analyzed its plasma fields and modeled its jets, others turned inward, asking what this strange visitor might mean for humanity itself. If the universe communicates through energy, then what message was it sending through this sudden awakening? Was it a reminder of our own connection to the cosmos, or simply a mirror reflecting our endless desire to find meaning in the stars? Each frame, each observation, each fluctuation seemed to echo a single truth, that in the grand orchestra of the cosmos, even the smallest object can play a note powerful enough to make us listen. The night skies of November glowed faintly with that note, and though few could see Atlas directly, millions felt its presence, some through data, others through intuition. Something beyond numbers was stirring in space, and its light was beginning to reach us. As December approached, 3I, divided by Atlas, continued to drift through the inner solar system, leaving behind a trail of invisible change. Though telescopes could barely glimpse it in the glare of the sun, instruments detected faint variations in the solar wind ripples that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the comet's activity. Magnetic field monitors on Earth registered subtle fluctuations. Pilots reported compass deviations. Even migratory birds were observed taking slightly altered routes. To many, it was nothing more than coincidence. But to others, it felt like resonance, the faint echo of a deeper connection between worlds. The comet's path placed it on the ecliptic plane, tilted just 5 degrees the same inclination as the moon's orbit. This geometric harmony fascinated astronomers and mystics alike. They saw in it a symbol of alignment, of communication between celestial layers. Atlas's plasma jets no longer seemed like random eruptions, but signals, waves of charged particles spreading outward across the solar wind, carrying energy and perhaps information. Each flare was like a heartbeat, each pulse a whisper from the interstellar void. In observatories across Europe and Asia, long exposure cameras capture the object's brightness, increasing yet again. It no longer shone like a simple reflection of sunlight. Its glow had a structure, bands, gradients, flickers of rhythm. The plasma jets appeared to form arcs that mirrored the magnetic lines of the sun, as if the comet were tracing the invisible architecture of the heliosphere. This was not the chaotic behavior of an ordinary comet. It looked coordinated, almost deliberate. Scientists began to debate openly what they were seeing. Some described it as a textbook example of magnetohydrodynamic feedback, the process where plasma fields reorganize themselves under external forces. Others dared to call it something more, a form of emergent intelligence within nature itself. If plasma can self-organize, if magnetic fields can carry patterns, then perhaps consciousness, at its most basic level, is a property of energy. Perhaps every act of creation, from a solar flare to a human thought, is an echo of the same fundamental vibration. In this view, 3I divided by Atlas was more than a comet. It was a messenger, a traveler from the interstellar deep, carrying within its plasma the ancient frequencies of forgotten stars. When it encountered the sun's magnetic storm, it didn't merely react, it responded. It sang back. December 19 drew closer the date when Atlas would make its closest approach to Earth. Though still distant at over 1.8 astronomical units, its symbolic proximity sparked curiosity and awe. News outlets around the world began to feature it in short segments. Social media filled with speculations, theories, and mesmerizing images. Some saw it as an omen of awakening, a sign that humanity was on the verge of rediscovering its cosmic roots. Others mocked the idea, reducing it to another internet myth. But beyond belief or disbelief, something undeniable stirred in the collective imagination. For the first time in years, millions of people looked up at the same sky, wondering about the same light. Even among professional scientists, the mood shifted from skepticism to wonder. The data simply didn't fit existing models. Atlas's mass, composition, and energy output suggested internal dynamics unknown in ordinary comets. Its plasma jets were too stable, its emission ratios too symmetrical. The more they studied it, the less it resembled anything familiar. Could it be hollow? Metallic? Was it a fragment of an interstellar moon? Or something older still, the remnant of a civilization long vanished beyond our galaxy? Nobody knew. But the questions themselves carried a strange beauty. They reminded us that science is not only about answers, but about curiosity, about standing before the unknown and feeling it stir something within. When the solar storms of late November intensified, Atlas responded once again. Its brightness spiked, reaching nearly magnitude 9, then dimmed suddenly, then flared again in irregular bursts. These oscillations matched solar flare cycles with uncanny precision. Some described it as call and response, as if the Sun and Atlas were playing an electromagnetic duet across millions of kilometers. The world's telescopes, from Chile to Hawaii, captured what many call the wings of light, twin arcs of plasma curving from the nucleus, shimmering like auroras in the dark. They were enormous, stretching hundreds of thousands of kilometers, glowing in spectral shades of blue and gold. The images were breathtaking, a fusion of chaos and symmetry. For a brief moment, humanity caught a glimpse of raw cosmic artistry, the universe painting with light and magnetism. By the time Atlas began to move beyond Mars's orbit, its activity had begun to subside. The jets faded, the halo dimmed, and the comet returned to a quieter state, still glowing faintly but no longer erupting with violence. Yet its presence lingered. Scientists noted a persistent signature in the solar wind, an electromagnetic fingerprint left behind, as though Atlas had imprinted its song into the fabric of space itself. As it continued its trajectory toward Jupiter, speculation grew. What if 3 I divided by Atlas was not just a random traveler, but a fragment intentionally set adrift? What if its awakening was the activation of something ancient, a memory triggered by sunlight, or perhaps, more humbly, it was a mirror showing us our own desire to find purpose and consciousness in the infinite? The story of Atlas became more than astronomy. It became reflection. Every flare, every image, every debate online echoed the same deeper truth, that humans long to belong to the cosmos. We look for ourselves in the stars, and sometimes the stars look back. When December 19 arrived, Earth passed its point of closest alignment with 3 I divided by Atlas. Observatories streamed data. Amateur astronomers stayed up through the night, scanning the horizon just before dawn. Most saw nothing but the faint glow of early light, yet they knew it was there, an interstellar messenger quietly slipping past, bound for Jupiter and the beyond. By March 2026, Atlas would cross into the realm of the gas giants, carrying with it traces of solar energy, dust, and plasma that once brushed the magnetic fields of Earth. Eventually, it would fade from sight, leaving behind only data, photographs, and questions. And yet, in that fading, there was something luminous, because in watching 3 I divided by Atlas awaken, we had also awakened to wonder, to curiosity, to the realization that the universe is alive in ways we barely understand. It was not just a comet, it was a reminder that everything is connected, light to matter, thought to energy, humanity to the cosmos. that in every flare of plasma and every whisper of the solar wind, there is a message waiting to be heard. We are not separate from the universe. We are part of its story, and it, perhaps, is part of ours.